Continuing on with the grass parameter here, the first thing we can choose is whether to have grass generated or not, and this is with the grass on parameter. Now we have the grass node count and grass per node count and the grass render count multiplier. These are very important. First, the grass node count. Here we just have one node within the grass patch. If I increase this, say, to 5, I'm going to have 5 nodes, and each node is containing 30 grass blades. But they are confounded together. They are in the same place. And if I want to separate them, it's very easy. I just increase the grass patch radius. So if I go like this, I see that I have 5, of course. 5 nodes, that is, and the radius is set to 5. So if you look at this from the top view, that's what we have. We can increase this number, say, to 50, and then increase the patch radius. And we see that these grass nodes are distributed in something that we call a Fibonacci distribution, which is a mathematical representation of the distribution that plants and real-life natural objects follow. To actually see the Fibonacci distribution properly, I'm going to set the grass per node count, say, to 1, and I'm going to increase the grass width temporarily so that we see. And I'm going to increase the count, and we start to see the Fibonacci distribution like so. If we decrease the length, not to 0, something like this, that's the Fibonacci distribution that we have. It's representing the way natural objects are distributed. Okay, so that's how the grass blades are displayed. So I'm going to undo a few steps. We know about the grass node count over here. The grass per node count is how many grass blades we have per node. And the grass render count multiplier will multiply the grass in the render. So here, if we give this a render, that's a viewport render and that's an external render. The actual render count multiplier has to do not with the viewport render, but with the external render when doing a full-blown render with whatever render engine you are using. So if I set my render count multiplier, say, to 2 and give this a render, I'm going to have twice as many node count as I have. So here I have 50. 2 will give me 100. So let's say that I have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I set the multiplier count to 2, I'm going to have 20, and so forth. So this is, again, an optimization parameter where you can have much more density in the rendering than in the viewport. But do take note that this actually affects the external render and not the viewport render or the interactive region render. Okay, so let's go back to 1 and increase the node count and reduce the grass patch radius, zoom over, and continue on with the different parameters. So here we have a grass grow, which we can control if we did not want to use the global grow parameter. So the global grow parameter affects the whole plant with all the elements added, while this grass grow would just affect just this grass without the other elements. And the grow start will actually tell you or tell the Multiflora object when to start growing. So if we have a value of 0, the global grass grow will start right away. So just by increasing this value, I'm going to have grass starting. Otherwise, if I increase this value, say, to 0.5, it means that whenever I reach 0.5, then the grass is going to start growing like so. So this is a delay value for the global grow parameter. Now the grass segments is how many segments we have. So we can increase and decrease this value. The minimum, of course, is 1. And the more segments, the more proper definition the grass is going to have, especially when you render with a close-up camera. Otherwise, if you zoom out, just decrease the segment count because it won't make any difference. This applies to whatever 3D geometry, not just to Multiflora objects. Now, the half sides is a very important parameter. If we increase it, we're going to have more sides along the grass blade, and this is to add to the detail and realism of the blade. For this, I'm going to focus on just one grass element to see exactly how I can use the sides to my advantage. We have seen the grass patch radius. The grass size will actually make the grass bigger or smaller, and the grass length is the length of the grass. So the grass size controls both the length and the width of the grass blade. So both will get bigger or smaller, while the grass length will just affect the length of the blade without touching the width. The grass node length ratio will actually play on the outer grass blades within the grass patch. So if you actually reduce this value to a negative value, then the outer grass blades within the grass patch are going to get longer. If you increase this value, then the outer grass blades will get shorter. Now, the grass node length ratio will actually affect the nodes as a global object. So for example, if I have more than one node, here I set my node count to 30, and I increase the grass node length ratio, then the outer nodes are going to have a smaller length. If I decrease it to a negative value, then the outer nodes are going to have a larger length. So let's increase this even more just to see, and increase the radius. So yeah, the outer nodes are longer now compared to the inner nodes, and that has to do with the grass node length ratio. If we increase this value now, the outer nodes are going to get smaller. So this just gives you more high-level control for the length of your grass, just to create a nice artistic look for your grass patch. Now, if you wanted to affect all the grass nodes in the same way, you just go to the grass per node length ratio, and per node you're going to get the length getting reduced on the outside or increased on the outside per node, so all of the nodes are going to have the same change. Another thing we can change is the randomized grass length, and this will just give you a random length for the grass blades. Each node is going to have a different randomization factor, and therefore you're going to get a nice randomized length for the whole patch. The grass width is very obvious. You just change the width. And the node offset, if you set it to 0, and we look at this from the top view, all the grass blades are being generated from the same point within a grass node. So if you increase that value, then you are offsetting the grass blades per node, and therefore creating a more versatile grass patch, right? So this is a nice value to make the grass more versatile. Don't forget that you can increase the grass per node count, like so, and just play with the different randomization values to get a nice grass patch.